products and liquor consumption, as well as whether a ban on advertisement has been linked to a reduction in consumption, the impact of similar advertising prohibitions on the tobacco industry, and whether these prohibitions have had the desired impact on public health, and the magnitude of sponsorships and corporate social investment by the liquor industry, and the impact of blanket prohibition on sponsorship. The studies that we've relied on, the DM has already touched on this, is the Fox Research Solution TM that conducted a research on the impact of liquor advertising in South Africa. This was conducted in 2009. And also the DNA Economics and Foshozi conducted research on the effectiveness of the Liquor Act of 2003. This was done in 2013. And also we relied on the econometrics that did the economic impact of an advertising ban on alcoholic beverages for the Industry Association for Responsible Alcohol Use. So there were no studies from the DTI side that specifically was conducted on the sponsorship and tobacco. So the following will be the findings of the aforesaid information. So there was a Grunewald's control of availability theory that assumed that the level of alcohol-related problems within a given community or country is related to its total per capita consumption. So the total per capita consumption is found to be the function of the price, the availability, disposable income, tourism, demographics, unemployment, and drinking sentiments. These are some of the issues that already the DM has alluded to. With regard to the availability of liquor, research shows that the increase in alcohol availability contribute to increases in alcohol consumption, which contribute to increased alcohol-related problems. These normally are driven by the high outlet density within a given area and examples of trading hours. The other issue is the levels of unemployment and a lack of recreational facility to cater for social needs. These are also amongst the reason that caused the increase in consumption of alcohol among young people. And then further, the issue of informal and unlicensed liquor outlets already also alluded, DM has already alluded to these ones. There are various estimates that suggest that the majority of liquor consumption occurs in this informal and unlicensed liquor outlet. This is because of, amongst others, the lack of enforcement on licensing laws and the underage drinking and long trading hours. When it comes to alcohol marketing, is one of those factors. There are various findings that were found in terms of the research. So there were many researchers that found that most powerful factors in shaping beliefs and attitudes about drinking are parental and peer influences, and that drinking patterns among young people are much more likely to be influenced by the prevailing culture around alcohol than the advertising itself. And then on the other hand, also research reviewed that of all longitudinal studies between 1990 and 2008 assessed the impact of advertising on more than 38,000 young people, and found that out of 13 of those studies, 12 demonstrated that the exposure to alcohol advertising is assisted with higher initiation of drinking as well as heavier drinking with risk potential to the amount of advertising. The study by Fox held that the alcohol marketing influences the attitudes of young people and their peers, which in turn creates an environment that accepts and promotes underage consumption. It was found that the more they are more aware and familiar and appreciative of young people of alcohol advertising, the more likely they are to drink. Still on the factors, there's also the study that found that law enforcement plays a significant role to influence consumption pattern and consequent criminal or risky behavior. Other factors that also contribute to the drinking behavior can be your cultural acceptability of drinking, alcohol used as a stress reducer, and also other psychological factors, for example, the unemployment. It was found that when people are not working and there are no recreational activities, they tend to drink more. So on the issue of the ban on advertising and the link in the reduction of consumption, the studies found that countries use a wide range of policies to control alcohol advertising and marketing. In some of the countries, alcohol advertising has been banned, and in others, they rely on self-regulation by the industry. So evidence from a benchmark research conducted on alcohol consumption patterns among young people in a number of countries included in the European School Survey Project on Alcohol and Other Drugs, that's your ESPAD, showed that there is no clear relationship between alcohol advertising, its regulation, and drinking patterns or problems among the youth. Instead, this study report points to the importance of culture in determining drinking patterns and problems in different societies. This is according to the Fox research. And according to the WHO, there are 9 countries that have a complete ban on alcohol, namely your Afghanistan, your Brunei Darussalam, your Ireland, Maldives, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, and Sudan. However, presidents in Canada, Denmark, and New Zealand find no evidence of reduced alcohol abuse, which resulted in bans on alcohol advertising being lifted. For example, in Denmark, Denmark has a ban on all broadcast advertising except on low alcohol content products, as well as various restrictions on print and outdoor advertising. At the same time, Denmark has found to have one of the highest reported rates of intoxication among young people. And then bans on broadcast advertising in Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway also have not resulted in the decline in consumption. Despite the repeal of an advertising ban on all types of beverage alcohol in New Zealand in 1992, there was no resulting increase in the consumption of distilled spirits, so the already declining spirit market fell even further during the 2 years following the introduction of broadcasting advertising. Some cases have shown that a counteract occurs when a ban or restrictive legislation is in place, causing unintended negative outcomes. For example, in Bulgaria in 2004, alcohol bottles were banned from being displayed in commercials. However, this did not reduce consumption, but instead caused advertising agencies to become creative in an attempt to circumvent the ban, and this caused volumes to grow. And then also in Russia, the result of the initial ban in Russia did not decrease consumption per capita, but instead the ban shifted loyalty, and there was a migration towards the black market. So the study by the econometrics concluded that there is no clear relationship between alcohol advertising, its regulation, and either drinking patterns or problems among the youth. Further, they've provided an example to give us the example of the Western Cape and the abuse of the tick drug, and then saying that there's a challenge there, and then most of the youth are using tick. And then this was never advertised. So they were just illustrating that there's no correlation there between advertising and the high use of substance abuse. Therefore, they concluded that the main culprits among young alcohol consumers remain peer pressure, parental approval, and issues around the family environment. And the report by Babo in the econometric study concluded that advertising bans and other marketing regulations were among the least effective policy strategies. And the report also notes that the knowledge needed to address health and social problems are unlikely to reside in a single discipline of research methodology. This honorable members, the DM has already alluded to say that not only one measure contributes to alcohol consumption or the drop of alcohol consumption. There needs to be various measures adopted to ensure that there's a reduction in consumption. On the issue of tobacco, in the beginning, I've illustrated that we didn't conduct any study on tobacco, but however, on the same study by Fox, it was indicated that the number of users of tobacco declined in South Africa following the ban on tobacco advertising, but they highlighted that this was in combination with other policy intervention, for example, your tax increases and other public restrictions. It was also estimated that about that adult daily smoking rates fell by a fifth, decreasing from 30.2% in 1995 to 24.1% in 2004. And then with regard to sponsorship also, there was no study there for sponsorship, but then the same study of econometrics argued that many of the sports disciplines will be adversely impacted on by a total ban in alcohol advertising, as it will eliminate the liquor industry's financial injection into different sporting codes. This will impact not only on the sport bodies themselves, but also on the sportsmen and women, and on the sports development, the stadium owners and the general public who might not be able to view the sports on television due to our station not being able to raise enough money for the sponsorship required. Honorable members, thank you. I have reached the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Can we go to the other presentation?
Chair, the next presentation is from the Department of Health. Chair.
Okay, Andre.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members, honorable members. And, my name is Rampilani Marawani. I'm going to be doing the presentation on behalf of the Department of Health, and I'm going to switch off my camera just to improve my bandwidth. Honorable Chair, I am accompanied on this call by the team that's made up of mainly the following people: Mr. Johannes Khatla, who is a familiar member in Parliament, and Mr. Ribon Nzie, who is the Chief Director responsible for health promotion, under whom the body of this work falls. We also have Dr. Khalabe Ngako, who is also coming from mental health, and we have Mr. Mtanani from health promotion also. I hope members can see my slides. Chair, the approach that we'd want to take, while we would want to confine ourselves to responding to the questions, but we thought it is important just to state our own case also with regard to the matter of the Liquor Amendment Bill. And just from the outset, Chair, I think I'm now struggling to see what, yeah. Just from the outset, Chair, I must state that we would want to provide a portfolio committee with some evidence of what has been done, but also that ES will not deviate from the questions that have been raised, which is whether research has been conducted on the factors in South Africa that are leading to high levels of consumption, which I think my colleague from the Department of Trade and Industry has already touched a bit on. whether there's any evidence linking alcohol advertising to increase in consumption, particularly among young people, and what lessons can be drawn from tobacco advertising prohibition regarding public health impact. Honorable Chair, we want to submit that my screen has got these things that are appearing here, but I'm going to come right, Chair. Chair, we must submit that research in South Africa determines multiple drivers of harmful effects of consumption. We had not limited ourselves only to advertising, but we then saying there are many structural issues, community issues, and individual issues. But for us, key determinants include structural socioeconomic conditions and all those that influence alcohol and alcohol availability, affordability, and psychosocial factors. Of course, we'll veer and we may want to confine ourselves more to issues that we are in our peer view and they therefore become social economic determinants of health for our part. Structural and economic drivers for us is poverty is one that drives it. Inequality in the society in which we live, and unemployment, all of this increase vulnerability to people to therefore be thinking that drinking is a better thing to do. As the DM from the Department of Trade and Industry has already alluded, the limited recreational and social infrastructure contributes to increase in drinking. So these are structural and social and socio-economic factors. What then are the commercial and environmental drivers? We state unequivocally as the Department of Health from where we're sitting, and because I take it, Chair, that we're looking at a prism, and from the side of the prism where we're sitting, we are convinced that aggressive alcohol marketing and its promotion increase drinking behavior, increase in drinking behavior. And we're saying that we can always debate it, but this way we stand. Secondly, say high density of alcohol outlets leading to increase in consumption. I'm sure all of us sitting in here, Honorable Chair and members, would know one or two places where we live, particularly in rural and township areas. We know one place where we live, where Fridays from 7 o'clock upwards, it's a high, converging area, and the bigger purpose is for drinking. Youngsters sit on the side of the road because they can't get closer, and they send adults who are older to go and buy for them, and then they drink across the road. And we know that. We've seen that, and I mean, where we live, distance are there. Secondly, saying, number 3, liquor trading practices and non-trading hours. In the province where I come from, in Limpopo, it was a big fight. It was a big fight around the festive seasons when the premier of the province had wanted to reduce working together with the leadership there. The trading hours to say they must close by midnight, I mean, it was a big thing. And who's buying this alcohol? Majority of them are young people. We may want to limit to legal age, I guess. I mean, that's what we've got to do. But my son who's 22 is still young. And I want to hear anybody in my village will tell me that there are children that are 22 years or older. My children that are 30. His last one is 30 years, is young. Cheap alcohol prices encourage heavy drinking among young people. Minimum unit price and taxation, we believe, can reduce this harmful consumption. Now, South Africa researchers have actually, sorry, my apologies, have delved into the area of alcohol advertisement and alcohol consumption. And exposure to alcohol marketing contributes to heavier drinking. Before just jumping into the relationship with alcohol, what we found was that advertising does not use poor people to advertise. It uses rich, famous, and glamorous people and glamorous ways, so that it sounds then like it's cool. Of course, any young people want to be cool, so therefore they may want to be attracted. Poor people want to quickly get their money, and the first thing they spend the money on is on alcohol. Advertising is not just about brand choice. People that did marketing will tell you advertisement is not about the brand choice. It entrenches in the viewer or the listener, and it influences behavior and norms. It steers the viewer to behavior change, to adherent alterations. So it's not just that. An exposure to alcohol marketing increased likelihood of drinking, starting very early by young people, and normalize alcohol use among people. Then people think, if it's not normal, why would you want to advertise it? Why would media advertise it if it's not normal? If this thing is dangerous, I want to see any marketing company would market snakes, who go there and say, now we're going to tell you about snakes. These are different kinds of snakes. They don't bite. If you bite, you can still get anti-venom, you'll get cured. They don't do that. Or any advert that markets Satan, for an example. Or any that market wishes, to say, no, these are wishes, don't kill them. Nobody does that. You always market that which you think will give you return on investment. Each additional marketing exposure increases the odds of drinking patterns, and linking alcohol to advertisement significantly increase the probability of drinking. Now, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, this research focuses purely on cancer research, and it's in the World Health Organization. It's made up of scientists and assembled together to review and evaluate scientific evidence on specific health risks. And this included that one, strong alcohol marketing restriction reduce consumption. These are the researchers. And we do know that researchers generally, each researcher will differ with another one, because it depends on the lens from which they are seeing this. Number two, they found that comprehensive advertising bans are more effective than just ordinary restriction. Restrictions reduce exposure and delay initiatives among young people, and policies should therefore address digital marketing, sponsorship, and advertising. Taken from our experience with the passing of tobacco laws, now, while we would want to follow or listen to the industry citing negative impact, we think it must be considered that similar intentions with alcohol, tobacco did not and does not necessarily do that alone. But here's what we say. Tobacco advertising bans demonstrated reduction. It may be minimal. It may be 6%. But if we talk about a scale of a population-based research, it's a big number. If we were to quantify it among, for an example, of 63 million people, or even if we talk about the over 30 million people of adult population, that's a big number. The 6% of 30 million is a big number that we can save. And it therefore argues further that we can argue that comprehensive tobacco advertising ban significantly reduced the prevalence of the tobacco consumption and prevalence in South Africa, with a study indicating, as I've said, an advertising ban reduced exposure and social normalization of the products in South African courts and all courts around the world upheld tobacco advertising ban as reasonable. In other countries, the way they do it, because for us, we still say, no, for tobacco, for an example, buy at the kiosk at the entrance. In some countries, in fact, that area is closed until a person comes to buy, then they only open that window where the person can buy, and then they close it. A shortage of law enforcement officers is not a reason for not imposing this restriction. It would imply that government only legislate where perfect enforcement capacity already exists. It can be, in our view, it can be correct. This issue was raised in 1999 when we were dealing with the Tobacco Products Amendment Control Act. And for us, ministers of health, starting with Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and subsequent ministers have demonstrated that adhering to this, and up to today, that battle with tobacco has not been finally won. We still badly. And our view is that we need to empower people. So Parliament, therefore, once Parliament empowers people with legal instruments, therefore people will then be able to enforce it themselves. But once Parliament relaxes, people think it's cool, it doesn't matter. So from where we're sitting, alcohol contributes to between 36 and 62,000 deaths annually, just as deaths. We haven't spoken about the burden that alcohol brings. And if if anybody argues as well, but accidents are not necessarily caused by alcohol. And I would say, scientifically, why would there be a relationship between increase in death roads, in the road deaths, increase in traffic fines for speeding, and increase in alcohol consumption? Of course, we may just argue that then somebody may have to tell us why these three are common. And when they go up, fatalities go up, hospitals get overwhelmed with the injuries, people get hospitalized for too long. Some people get confined to wheelchairs, and they are in our vicinities, and we know that. And then hospitals then have got to pause to do routine work, but to take care of people that shouldn't have been in hospitals if they had not been drunk. And therefore, the study that was conducted in 2014 estimated the combined socio-economic harmful alcohol at being approximately 10 to 12% of the GDP. This is more than the budget of health, because we're standing at 8% of the GDP. Research clearly identifies structural and commercial and social drivers of increase in alcohol use in South Africa. And with South African evidence shows alcohol advertising increases consumption, particularly among young people. As I said already, they think it's cool, they think it's great, they think it's a class they want to belong to. International and local evidence indicates that comprehensive advertising restrictions are more effective than partial measures. So for us from health, we're not advocating for purely just banning in advertising, but we say we need comprehensive measures that will help in reducing the consumption of alcohol. Tobacco control experience demonstrates that advertising bans are feasible, legally defensible, and effective public health interventions. Now, just as I conclude, we just want to show references that we have gone to try to demonstrate the point that we have raised here before the members. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And thank you very much, Honorable members.
Thank you for the presentation. Can I now invite members?
Chair,
Let us ask Andre, is there any other presentation?
there's a presentation from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. It's led by Ms. Combring and Mr. Silius. They will do the next presentation. Chair, thanks.
Okay, is there another presentation after this one?
There's correct, Chair, from the Department of Arts, Sports, Arts and Culture, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a presentation?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members and also colleagues. My name is Lisa Combrink. I'm leading the delegation, which I wanted to indicate consists of myself. I'm the Chief Director in the department, and also Mr. Charles Silius, who is Special Advisor to the Ministry and the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, and Mr. Simpiwe Ngube, who is the Acting Deputy Director General of Recreation, Development and Sport Promotion. We're also accompanied by two research colleagues, Ms. Mavandu and Mr. Mkulisi. So Mr. Silius will begin and present for us. Thank you very much, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson and the committee and the Deputy Minister. Can I just check if my presentation is visible?
It is visible.
All right, thank you. Just gonna go. All right, so similar to the previous presentations, we all know why we are here, so I'll just skip this one. And we are Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. And just to introduce myself, sorry, apologies, I am a special advisor in the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. So this presentation is to provide input regarding the potential implications of the Liquor Amendment Bill for sectors within the department's mandate. The committee has requested information from us on the magnitude of sponsorship and corporate social investment provided by the liquor industry to sport, arts, and cultural activities, the potential impact of restrictions on alcohol advertising and sponsorship, and whether alternative private sector funding sources could realistically replace such sponsorship. This report accompanies the department's presentation to the committee and aims to provide a structured overview of the policy considerations relevant to these questions. We do not seek to advocate for or against the proposed legislation. We are just seeking to assist the committee in understanding the broader ecosystem within which alcohol sponsorship operates, particularly in relation to sport development and the cultural and creative industries. Alcohol misuse, we know, remains a significant public health and social challenge in South Africa. Research consistently associates excessive alcohol consumption with a range of harms. We know, including interpersonal violence, trauma and injury, road accidents and fatalities, gender-based violence and femicide, alcoholism and its effects on the addict's health, family and social disruption. We know that alcohol-related harm places pressure on public health services, law enforcement systems, and social support structures. International policy frameworks that we've heard about here today previously include those promoted by the World Health Organization that recognize restrictions on alcohol advertising, promotion, and sponsorship as one of several policy tools that governments may consider when seeking to reduce harmful alcohol consumption. So as the department, we recognize the seriousness of alcohol-related harms and the importance of policies that aim to address them. At the same time, the committee has asked us as the department to assess the potential implications of sponsorship restrictions for sport and cultural ecosystems. So we are considering here both the public health rationale for regulatory intervention and the economic and developmental context in which sponsorship currently operates. It is important to note that the issue of alcohol advertising and sponsorship in sport has been examined previously in parliamentary processes, including a portfolio committee discussion in 2013, which heard evidence from industry analysts and other stakeholders at that time. Previous policy discussions across government, including analysis within National Treasury, have recognized that restrictions on alcohol advertising and sponsorship may have fiscal and sectoral implications, particularly for sport and cultural activities that rely on sponsorship funding. Earlier industry analyses already estimated the South African sports sponsorship market at several billion rand annually, demonstrating that sponsorship has long formed an important component of the financing ecosystem for sport. Recent economic analysis suggests that the alcohol beverage industry contributed about 226 billion rand to South Africa's GDP in 2022, representing about 3.6% of the national economy. The industry also supports hundreds of thousands of jobs across agriculture, manufacturing, distribution, retail, and hospitality. Alcohol sponsorship of sporting and cultural events should primarily be understood as a commercial marketing strategy rather than as philanthropy. Large beverage companies invest in sponsorship in order to build brand visibility, associate their products with positive emotional experiences, connect brands with major cultural and sporting moments, and strengthen their customer loyalty. Sponsorship arrangements typically provide brands with marketing opportunities, including stadium and event branding, broadcast visibility, digital marketing integration, fan engagement platforms, hospitality and networking opportunities. And prominent global examples illustrate the scale of this strategy. Heineken's long-standing sponsorship of the UEFA Champions League, Budweiser's association with the FIFA World Cup, Guinness sponsorship of international rugby competitions, and of course we could go on and on. These partnerships allow brands to associate themselves with moments of celebration, achievement, and shared identity. However, although sponsorship is undertaken for commercial marketing purposes, these investments also generate funding streams that support sport and cultural ecosystems. So beverage brands are very prominent too in the live entertainment and cultural events economy. Alcohol companies regularly sponsor music festivals, DJ tours, and electronic dance music events, arts and lifestyle festivals, fashion and creative showcases, nightlife and entertainment platforms, and I can go on. These partnerships allow brands to associate themselves with cultural experiences that audience perceive as aspirational and socially meaningful. South African artists with global reach, including internationally recognized DJs such as Black Coffee and many more, frequently headline large-scale festival environments where beverage brands participate as event partners. Such events often feature branded stages, exclusive beverage partnerships, hospitality areas, and integrated digital marketing campaigns. These partnerships serve marketing objectives for beverage companies while also supporting the financial viability of the events themselves. More recent modeling undertaken by the South African Cultural Observatory considers the combined sector of cultural and creative industries together with sport. This broader analysis estimates that the combined cultural, creative, and sports sector contributes about 271 billion rand to the South African economy, representing roughly 4% of national GDP. This combined estimate reflects the wider ecosystem surrounding sport and cultural activity, including event economies, tourism associated with sport and cultural events, broadcasting and media production, hospitality and venue services, technical and production support industries. These figures illustrate the broader economic significance of the sectors potentially affected by changes to sponsorship regulations. Extensive international evidence indicates that sport and recreation produce significant social and economic benefits, including improved public health outcomes, social cohesion, youth development, and economic activity. Corporate sponsorship plays an important role in funding sport and entertainment activities. Industry research by sports marketing analysts suggests that the South African industry is valued, or that the South African sports sponsorship market is valued at about 8.5 billion annually, including both direct sponsorship investment and associated marketing activation spending. These sponsorship arrangements support activities, including professional sporting competitions, national team programs, international event hosting, fan engagement and marketing activities, development structures within sporting codes. Although precise data on alcohol sponsorship specifically is limited, alcohol companies have historically been prominent sponsors within this ecosystem. A commonly cited industry view is that well over 1 billion rand of South Africa's sports sponsorship market comes from alcohol brands. Alcohol sponsors are also often concentrated in high visibility properties, which makes their influence seem larger. Because sponsorship agreements are commercial contracts and not publicly disclosed, precise estimates vary, but alcohol brands are widely recognized as major sponsors of high-profile sporting and cultural events. Industry observations also suggest that alcohol brands invest significant marketing resources in music festivals, cultural events, and lifestyle platforms, in addition to sports sponsorship. It is plausible that several 100 million rand annually flow into music, festival, and cultural events through beverage brand partnerships, with some placing the true figure upwards of 800 million rand. However, the absence of consolidated data makes precise quantification difficult. International and local experience suggests that where advertising restrictions remove the marketing value associated with sponsorship, companies often withdraw sponsorship funding because the commercial rationale no longer exists. Sponsorship funding associated with elite sport often supports broader sport development systems. National sport federations typically operate integrated structures that include national teams, professional competitions, provincial and regional structures, youth development programs, and grassroots participation initiatives. Revenue generated through elite sponsorship agreements contributes to the financial sustainability of these broader structures. We can look at the example of rugby in South Africa. The South African Rugby Union, as the governing body for rugby in South Africa, receives sponsorship revenue associated with elite competitions and the national team. Corporate sponsors linked to elite rugby properties, historically including brands such as Castle Lager, through the South African breweries, provide financial support in exchange for branding and marketing rights linked to national teams and competitions. Although such sponsorship agreements are typically structured around elite competitions, the revenues generated by governing bodies support a wider set of responsibilities, including youth development programs, coaching development initiatives, talent identification pathways, provincial rugby structures, school and community rugby initiatives. The relationship between elite sponsorship and grassroots participation can therefore be understood as a funding cascade. Corporate sponsorship takes us from national sport federations to provincial and regional structures, development programs, and grassroots participation. Although the distribution of funds differs across sports, this cascading funding structure is a common feature of many countries' national sports systems. So government funding plays an important role in supporting sport development and participation, but public funding alone is rarely sufficient to sustain the full range of activities within national sports systems. And I can say that as DSAC, we are never able to meet all the demands and all the requests that we get from the public, and the money is simply never enough. So sponsorship is a very, very important thing for us. And sport federations themselves rely on a mix of funding sources, including the government grants that we give them, but they must get their corporate sponsorships, their broadcasting revenues, their commercial partnerships, and they must make money from events. These commercial revenues generated by elite sport properties therefore help to cross-subsidize development activities at the lower levels of the sports system. If sponsorship revenues decline significantly, governing bodies may face increased difficulty sustaining development pathways. Similarly, in the cultural and creative economy, there are funding dynamics that show us that many festivals, art events, and cultural platforms are relying on sponsorship funding for their event production, their artist fees, their venue costs, their marketing promotion, and their audience accessibility. Without sponsorship support, these organizers may be required to reduce the size of their events, increase their ticket prices, cancel smaller platforms and smaller events, and this will limit opportunities for emerging artists. The creative economy therefore relies on sponsorship partnerships as part of a broader ecosystem of funding. So we had to look at what are the possible scenarios if we are going to remove alcohol and if these restrictions were introduced. And there's three scenarios that we came up with. And the first one is that there's an immediate sponsorship prohibition, and a sudden prohibition on alcohol sponsorship could then result in an immediate reduction in available funding for certain sport and cultural events. Because replacement sponsors may take time to secure, some events would then experience some severe short-term funding gaps. In scenario 2, where there's a transitional implementation, a phased approach could allow existing sponsorship agreements to conclude while enabling the organizers to try to identify alternative funding partners. And that approach could reduce the risk of abrupt financial disruption. And then the last scenario is targeted restrictions, where some jurisdictions we've seen in the world have implemented targeted regulatory approaches, focusing on youth exposure to alcohol marketing while allowing certain sponsorship arrangements under controlled conditions. However, we have to be clear that such approaches require careful policy design and effective enforcement. Then when it comes to how do we replace these sponsorships from the alcohol beverage companies, if that's the decision that we're going to have to face, and that is something that is not always immediate or straightforward. Major sponsorship agreements often involve lengthy negotiations and strategic alignment between sponsors and event organizers. Typical timelines for securing a replacement sponsor could range from 12 to 36 months for a major title sponsor, or 6 to 18 months for secondary sponsors. Grassroots events and smaller cultural platforms will find it very difficult to attract replacement sponsors due to limited commercial visibility. So there are always going to be policy trade-offs when we have these discussions, and regulating alcohol sponsorship will involve balancing multiple public interests. On the one hand, alcohol sponsorship may contribute to the normalization of alcohol consumption and expose audiences to brand messaging. But on the other hand, sponsorship funding does support activities that provide social, developmental, and cultural value. That's something we can't deny. And policy decisions must therefore consider both the public health objectives and the sustainability of sport and cultural ecosystems. And we know that there's a lot that still needs to be researched. Some policymakers and stakeholders have suggested exploring regulatory approaches that combine restrictions with stronger public interest obligations. So possible areas for exploration include stronger responsible consumption messaging, restrictions on youth-focused sponsorship exposure, transparency requirements for sponsorship agreements, and potential contributions to programs that address alcohol-related harm. So we're saying that if the companies are profiting from this, then perhaps they could make a greater contribution to reducing the social harm. And these possibilities would require further policy development and consultation. So we know that we have a lot of evidence gaps and further research needs. A key limitation in the current policy discussion is the lack of detailed research, specifically examining alcohol sponsorship in South Africa's sport and cultural sectors. Existing studies provide valuable context, but do not measure alcohol sponsorship directly. A dedicated research study would therefore be required to map alcohol sponsorship across sport and cultural sectors, assess its economic significance, analyze replacement funding prospects, and examine international regulatory models. The department estimates that such research would require about 6 months at least to produce any reliable models, any reliable findings. There are also broader needs in research and evidence provision. Sorry, my apologies. While restrictions on alcohol advertising, so we do need stronger evidence on the effectiveness of advertising bans. So we know that restrictions on alcohol advertising and sponsorship are often proposed as tools to reduce harmful consumption, but the empirical evidence regarding their effectiveness remains the subject of ongoing debate, even in the international literature. Some studies suggest that advertising restrictions may influence patterns of consumption over time, particularly among younger audiences, but other research indicates that the relationship between advertising and harmful consumption is complex and mediated by a range of social, economic, and cultural factors. In many cases, alcohol advertising may influence brand choice rather than overall consumption levels. For this reason, a number of scholars have emphasized the importance of robust context-specific research before drawing firm conclusions about the likely impact of advertising restrictions on harmful drinking behavior. In the South African context, where patterns of alcohol consumption are shaped by a wide range of structural and social factors, we do say that additional research would be valuable and needed in assessing the likely effectiveness.
Sorry, can I just interrupt for a moment? Mr. Salia's WhatsApp chat appears to be on the screen.
Happens, and that people try to circumvent even the best restrictions.
There's a WhatsApp chat on the screen, sir. Please work on that.
Sometimes be partially circumvent use of alternative marketing. For example, brands may promote alcohol-free or alcohol variants that carry the brand identity. Schemes and brand association as their alcoholic products. A commonly cited example is the marketing.
Mr. Silias, please pause, Chief.
And that allows the brand itself to remain highly visible.
Lisa, can you ensure that Mr. Silias to stop the presentation? Because it's something to hear us.
Marketing activity
I'm trying to reach
then partnerships, lifestyle branding, or influencer marketing. As a result, the effectiveness of advertising restrictions may depend heavily on the precise design of regulatory frameworks and the extent to which they account for evolving market practices. So we're saying that there are lots of lessons from history, and we still need to do more research. And in conclusion, Chairperson, alcohol-related harm, we know, is an important public concern for South Africa. At the same time, alcohol sponsorship currently forms part of the broader ecosystem of sponsorship, and it supports our sport development, our cultural events, and our creative platforms. So we're asking for careful evidence-based consideration, and we would like that to ensure that regulatory interventions achieve their needed objectives while avoiding unintended consequences. I thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Can I now give opportunity to the honorable members to engage with the presentation?
Okay.
And Andre, you will assist
I will.
with identification of the hands.
No problem, Chair. Mr. Tambo raised his hand, Chair. and also Ms. Mente, also Mr. Chance, Chair, Mr. Gama, and I think Ms. Mente as well, Chair.
Okay, in that order,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the Deputy Minister and to the department, to all of the departments who made presentations here today. I'm going to try to be very brief. So I'm going to speak to all three presentations because I think they speak to each other in an uncanny way. So I think they speak to each other in a way that affirms the belief that we actually should proceed with this bill that I don't think these departments intended to achieve, except for the Department of Health. Because as much as we appreciate the research which we sanctioned should be done, on all of this, it is interesting to see that this research seeks to make separations between parental and peer pressure as drivers of alcohol abuse, as well as cultural systems and norms and societal conditions away from advertising. Because one of the core arguments we make about this bill is that all of these are influenced and shaped by the advertising itself, which is aggressive of alcohol in South African society. So they can't be separated. So you can't want to say there is peer pressure or parental pressure or cultural pressure to consume alcohol in the way that it is consumed in South Africa, and that exists outside of the aggressive mechanisms of advertising of alcohol. Because those same peers and those same parents and those same cultures that push people towards alcohol abuse are also shaped by the mass production of media that creates alcohol as a status symbol, as a depiction of luxury, as a depiction of success. So as much as this research might to us look like something that is independent to international standards, if we look at the unique situation in South Africa, you'll find that these phenomenon of culture, peers, parents, and advertisement of alcohol are intertwined. And I think this point is emphasized much more by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, which basically has said to us now that the entire cultural and sporting ecosystem in South Africa is heavily reliant on the advertisement of alcohol on these platforms. So how we perceive ourselves, how we present ourselves culturally, our interactions with entertainment and sports relies on billions of sector investment from this degenerative factor in our society that we know drives so much ill will and social distress. And it's something that we should be ashamed of. I don't think it's something that we should be proud of. I don't think it's something that when we are cautioned, it must drive us into a corner where we think that let's not touch this sector because we risk destroying the creative and cultural and sporting sector. I think that is a distraction in itself. Because if our sporting and cultural sectors depend on a substance that is causing so much havoc in South African society, then that needs to be reviewed as well. We need to look at ethical sponsorships within the sporting and cultural sphere, because this is an unethical sponsorship relationship where millions and billions are generated through this sector by the alcohol industry, yet this same alcohol industry is contributing to so much social distress. And that impact is undeniable. I mean, for example, if we talk about peer pressure, if there's a young person in South African society who wants to be a rugby player and they look up to Siya Kolisi, and Siya Kolisi is a brand ambassador of Castle Lager, the image of becoming a successful rugby player in that young person's mind is tied both to Siya Kolisi as a sporting icon and to Castle Lager as an advertiser and brand sponsor. So you see that at a young age, your relationship with sports is tainted by the influence of alcohol through advertising and sponsorship. If a young person who's aspiring to be a DJ or musician sees Maphorisa or Kabza de Small as a brand ambassador of Hennessy or Heineken or any other alcohol beverage, they tie that lifestyle, they tie that success in a cultural activity such as music to alcohol. And that is where the peer pressure regenerates itself in South African society as well. So it is inseparable, the impact that advertising has on cultural norms, cultural standards, and social behavior of young people and old. Our parents grew up since 1994 when we won the 1995 when we won the Rugby World Cup. Castle Lager has been a staple sponsor and part and parcel of the rugby atmosphere. So when they saw their parents watching rugby, or their parents who grew up watching rugby, from then they've had a relationship with rugby that has a relationship with Castle Lager. So we can't separate cultural phenomenon from the mass production of media advertisement of alcohol. So let's look at that as intertwined. I appreciate that that research came because I think it emphasizes our point more than it counterproduces it. And I think the anchor of our attitude and approach to this discussion around this Liquor Amendment Bill must center the National Department of Health, because they are the ones who tell us how many tragedies occur due to alcohol. They are the ones who tell us how much the hospital infrastructure and medical infrastructure in this country is overburdened due to violence and accidents related to alcohol abuse and consumption. So as much as we appreciate international research, that must also inform our policy development. We must appreciate the unique situation that South Africa finds itself in. There's a particular history we have, there's a particular social structure we have in our country, and the connection between our social norms and ways of living to alcohol is dangerous. I mean, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and perhaps this is indicative of the political leadership that is leading it now, it's damning to see that basically you're saying to us, our cultural and sporting sector cannot survive without alcohol sponsorship. It's extremely scary to hear. And it must be something that wakes us all up. That culturally, our entire ecosystem survives of money, of alcohol abuse. I think I'll leave it there, Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Chance.
Thanks, Andre. Yeah, before I begin with the questions, I don't have many questions. I just want to say that I moved from my phone platform to my laptop platform in the middle of this presentation, and I wasn't sure in what capacity Mr. Cilliers was actually making the presentation. My understanding is that Mr. Cilliers is the special advisor to the minister, and it's highly irregular for a special advisor to be representing a department. Could Mr. Cilliers just please clarify that for us?
Chairperson, through you, that was a question that I asked yesterday, as it was equally of interest to me, and we were expressly assured that there is no prohibition on a special advisor doing a presentation, because it was in fact not just the department that was asked for inputs, it was the minister himself. So due to the nature of how the request was formulated, it was determined that there'd be nothing unusual about me presenting. So I'd just like to reassure the honourable member that that was canvassed prior to this meeting and an answer was given. Thank you.
And was that canvassed by the secretariat of the committee and the chairperson, Andre?
Okay, we have they did consult with us, Chair, and I consult with our legal department chair. The rules doesn't explicitly state that a special advisor or anyone cannot speak. So based on that, on advice I received, Chair, we indicated that because they're going to address policy matters, maybe that.
Well, there's another aspect to this, and that is that the ministry and the department do not decide.
Can I request that we have all the questions and then the departments can respond to their questions?
No, this is a point of principle, Chairperson. This is not a question relating to the content, because the point that I'm making is that the ministry and the department are two separate things. And I want to know whether the Speaker, Mr. Cilliers, was presenting on behalf of the minister or the department, because he can't be speaking on behalf of both. They are two separate entities. And as a special advisor to the minister, he would be presumably speaking for the minister, but not the department. I think it's important that we get this distinction.
Chair, I think through you, Chair, Ms. Combry can clarify that. I think the understanding was that he will assist the department in this process. Hence, when I spoke to the
I consider that to be highly irregular. I just want to make the point, Chairperson and Secretariat, that I do believe this is irregular. But anyway, I'll leave it at that for the moment. I just want to put it on record for the minutes of the meeting.
It will be noted, Mr. Chance.
Yes, thank you. Can I continue, Chair?
Mr. Herman, may I just indicate that I remain the leader of this delegation from the department, but I as I indicated, Mr. Nube and Mr. Cilliers will also be participating. I thought I would
But
just
Mr. Cilliers is not a member of the department. He's a special advisor to the minister. Those are two separate legal entities. You can't conflate the two.
I remain in charge of the presentation.
All right, listen, I think we've made the point. I've made the point, but I am going to take it up with the legal services within Parliament. If I may continue just on the substantive content here, I think that what is clear here is that we're dealing with the issue of a substance which leads to overconsumption and societal problems. And it's not the only one that we see, and some of them have been discussed, tobacco obviously being the other one, but there's also sugar and there's also gambling. And we as the DCIC Oversight Committee have a responsibility to look at the totality of the incidences of overconsumption, addiction, societal problems, abuse, and so on. And I think that just to look at the Liquor Amendment Bill in isolation would be a mistake. And Chair, I want to suggest that we consider having a colloquium, a more broad discussion around these issues and the impact that they are having on family, family problems, societal issues. I think much of what has been said today is true, but a lot of it is also based upon flimsy evidence. And certainly the gentleman from the Ministry of Health or Department of Health was talking about being convinced and we believe, but being convinced and believing in something are not the same as following evidence. So, for example, if we look at minimum unit pricing, it definitely has not been shown to be conclusive, certainly where it's been implemented, for example, in Scotland. Advertising per se certainly will have some impact on consumption, but as the renowned advertising guru David Ogilvy said, he says, we know that at least half of our advertising spend works, we just don't know which half. And that remains the case. It's not an absolute science. So I think that before we rush into supporting a total ban on advertising, which, as Mr. Cilliers does point out, advertising and sponsorship is the lifeblood of many arts and culture and sports events in this country, we need to think very carefully about it. And the same applies to an outright ban on gambling and betting and advertising, because those things are also dependent upon the Betways and Hollywood Bets of this world. I think we all agree that there's an excessive amount of that at the moment, and so some restrictions are probably in order. But I don't believe that an overall ban is appropriate. But anyway, I'm sure that the committee will be taking these things into consideration. But as I said, I'd like to reiterate, Chair, my proposal that we have a colloquium to discuss this in a broader sense and all the societal factors involved in consumption of addictive products. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gama, Chair. Mr. Gama?
Honorable Gama, you can proceed.
Chair, there's a hand from Honorable Nant. I think she can come in.
I'm not sure if Mr. Gama can hear us. Chair, his audio is on. Maybe we should proceed to maintain the interim chair until Mr. Gama resolves his technical problems.
Okay. Honorable Nant, where is the acting chair?
Ms. Katsi was on the platform, Chair. She was sharing it until you.
Yeah, she must proceed. I'm in the meeting, but I see that she's not responding. Yeah.
Ms. Katsi,
you can proceed.
Should I proceed? Should I proceed, Chair? It's Mende here.
Yes, Honorable Member, you can proceed. Member Mtsikasi, if you can continue telling the meeting.
Well, thank you very much, Chair, and
Thank you very much for inviting us once more and opening this platform. Good morning to all the colleagues on the platform. Let me begin, Chair, by saying we're glad that we have now opened up the conversation around this proposed private member bill, which is very much important. And if we can all recall, it was part of the SONA also speech that advertisement of alcohol is part of the causes of the alcohol consumption in our country and the deterioration thereof of the future of our children, which is an acknowledgement from the highest echelons of the number one citizen of the country that there is a correlation between consumption of alcohol and the death of our people on the roads, the bleak future of our children, and the behaviors that we see from parents to children in our country. Now I'm going to deal with the three presentations that have been made to us, which are very much welcome. And I also share the sentiments of one of the colleagues around a special advisor in the minister's office making a presentation, because we have seen with the other two departments that it's either the deputy person in charge, the DDG, or a person that's assigned from the DG's office, meaning which the ownership of the presentation is very clear. And it then taints the work we do if we're going to have staff of the minister's offices, because those are two separate people. We made this presentation and we have drawn our inspiration from the experiences of South Africa, but much more influenced by the 2010 WHO Global Strategy to reduce harmful use of alcohol, which the Department of Health has gone to town experimenting to us what's the meaning and definitions of that. And we're very much thankful for your extensive research and clear examples of the impact of alcohol and detrimental effects to society. Now, to the department, DT, I am very much disappointed because you did not do any work. You brought research that's extremely old, and some of it is not even doing justice to the countries you have mentioned in some of those researches pertaining to their prevailing conditions at this moment, especially around Canada. Maybe it will help for the department through the chairperson of the committee to give itself time to go and do extensive study around this matter. And it will be, just like us, informed of the prevailing conditions of this country caused by the detrimental effects of alcohol. Commissar Tambo, my colleague or member Tambo, have already explained the definition of peer pressure and its relation to the marketing material that is on a daily basis exposed to all of us. The exposure of this, utilizing a celebrity, utilizing a rich person. Who does not want to be a celebrity? Who does not want to be acknowledged? Who does not want validation? Who does not want to be rich? if you portray such people and in portraying them link alcohol to their success, what kind of future are you saying DTI we are going to have? And then you say, no, there is no correlation between marketing and that which is prevailing in our society in terms of living and the behaviors around the things that many people practice, be it at school. Children in school, during drama or during anything, they mimic celebrities. But if you want to mimic a DJ and you don't have that beverage next to you, you do not feel like you are actually portraying that person in the fullest form. You ought to first enjoy the taste of what they are promoting and then put it next to you, which then speaks to promotion and placement. So you can't separate promotion and placement from advertising and then say, no, it has no correlation. It has, and it's deeper than we thought, because for the mere fact that a celebrity will then place either on the regalia they are wearing a name of a brand, alcohol brand, or place it physically next to the decks of the DJ. That's promotion. So it's inseparable from marketing. Putting that bottle of Heineken or anything next to the decks, that's placement, and it's inseparable from marketing. So there's no way you can say DTI, there's no correlation between the three. Peer pressure was clearly explained by Commissar Tambo, what it means. But maybe, Chair, the department will give us this understanding, because to me, they didn't work. They just went to get whatever they got from wherever, which is very old. And if you have not done practical work around this subject, you are going to get misinformation and you are going to get information that is not going to be helpful. Another thing, we cannot carry a research as a department around this subject with a position, because to me, you ought to be neutral in order to get an informative outcome. You ought to place the research as if you don't know what the outcome should be. But you can't place a research when you already know what your outcome should be. That will make you take the oldest research because it must favor the outcome that you want. Put yourself as neutral as possible and go to research so that it can inform your outcome. Your outcome must be informed by the lived experiences of people in whichever country in the globe. Also, parental measures have nothing to do with parenting children that are consuming alcohol in the extremist levels in South Africa. Parents are not with children. Parents are at work. We leave our children 4 a.m. We come back at 9. Who guides the kids when we're not at home? Adverts. It's TV, it's social media, it's any type of exposure to media, news, and everything. You're watching TV, radio, social media, newspapers, everywhere. Everything you interact with as a child has alcohol in it. There may be that particular warning of not for 18 years and above, but that comes after you have read the contents. And in many cases, it is very, very small in font. It's not warning you that don't even touch it. The warning, many people can't see it, and some of us as members seated here, if we can identify any product or any advert that first puts in a big red that it's not for children less than 18 years. It's a very small font somewhere in between. And these alcohol adverts also, they are not placed in a strategic times where assumable children are sleeping. No. They are right there when children are watching TV during the day. So you can't then tell me that any regulation we must regulate, and then if we put more regulation, we no. Advertisement, placement, and promotion can be regulated if it's not banned, because children will always be exposed to it and the general public will always be exposed to it, which then informs their choices afterwards. Department of Health, thank you very much for your clear position. I was actually very much disappointed that your tobacco inputs were postponed in the meeting for Wednesday, because I wanted to attend there and understand what is happening at this moment with the tobacco in strengthening the tobacco laws and regulations. That is a demonstration that we need more laws from Parliament so that the public can enforce it. Public cannot enforce alcohol not being available if Parliament does not take action. We must have the law, and then we regulate, and then people will enforce it. But with the assumption that no, there is no correlation, that's just not true, and it will not work, Chair. So thank you very much, Department of Health. We will schedule a meeting with your office as an organization and the people that have sponsored this bill to exchange notes and then see how we go forward with this. And then Department of Sports. I do not want to say you are taking a side or anything, but similarly to what I said to DTI, do not go for a favorable outcome when you are looking at the research and factors that contribute to the people consuming alcohol. You are going to derive the outcomes that are suitable and favorable to you. And this for me is a shocker, because the Minister of Finance just increased the tax around tobacco as well as alcohol products. Why? Because we need to discourage people from consuming these things. They are toxic. They are drugs. And I so wish that you have advanced this in the cabinet and see what would be the response of the cabinet, because there is a recognition and appreciation that this is a substance which is not supposed to be existing. Thus, curb it by making it expensive so that people cannot afford it. Now, if ever the tax is high and you are advocating for sponsorship, didn't these people complain to you that you are no longer advocating for us because now we're going to give you less money simply because the minister have increased the tax, increased the price, and increased everything around alcohol? And I doubt you have advanced that argument in the cabinet. And we shouldn't do what we're doing simply because we want to advance a certain argument simply for the argument's sake. No, we must advance arguments because they serve the best interest of the people. And at this point, what is in the best interest of the people? You also acknowledge that we wouldn't like our people to die because of the effects of alcohol. And if maybe this is accepted and it's made law, if it could be phased in as a phase approach so that you can work around your budgets and everything. And another thing, Chair, there's already a motion of no confidence in the Minister of Finance, because I believe that the Minister and the Department of Arts and Culture is fully capable to advance reason as to why should their budget be increased if they had the best interest of our people. And the argument you are bringing to us doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the cabinet. that increase our budget, because these federations that receive these particular sponsors, in any way, if you were to scrutinize it thoroughly, they have no impact on society in terms of empowering the sports or arts and culture sector. In townships, in rural areas, in our schools, we no longer have sports. We no longer see people promoted. Eastern Cape boxing in Danzane. Promoters are looking for money. The federation is nowhere. So I'm not sure, but it's just not for this committee to look into it. But if we were to go to your portfolio committee and strip your argument for what it is, we're not going to even find the output of the so-called sponsorship to federations, because it doesn't talk to general benefit of our people. There's no beneficiation that's derived from sponsorship to federations by ordinary people. It is for sports that are far much advanced. It's not for the sports that we know. Soccer is everywhere in the dusty streets of Soweto. You go to Pulukwane, Ecofimvaba, or you go to Qwaqwa. You're not going to see these federations. So who are they working for? Kahle kahle. You will not find that argument which you are bringing here resonating with the people, but those people are the ones that are suffering the detrimental effects of alcohol, because seated at home with 20 rand, then an advert of the nicest alcohol drops on TV. It's cheap, it's 10 rand. Let me go get it, because anyway I'm poor, anyway I'm unemployed, let me just drink myself to death. You don't drink yourself to death and get drunk because you wanted to, but you were seated at home frustrated. You saw an advert, it told you that there is a certain type of alcohol that's nicer, that's cheaper, therefore just go and consume it. Your problems will be over. You'll be jolly, you'll be cool, and you will go to sleep nicely. Tomorrow you wake up without that 20 rand. And that's just what adverts do, simple terms. You have already made it clear, Department of Sports, of what is the intention of sponsorship. That the sponsorship has a full correlation with marketing. They don't give you that sponsorship for you to hide it. They are giving it to you to brand it on your sports gear, to brand it around the stadium, placement into your parties, into your arts and culture, music festivals. The branding must be there, the placement must be there, the consumption must be there, and then celebrities must be seen consuming that product which they give you for free, to promote it to the people that came to watch you, to watch your arts and culture music festival. So it has a full correlation. You can't say, no, then the sporting events and everything, the branding that's there does not necessarily say people must consume. No, it is related to their consumption, because they have seen it at the stadium, they have seen it in the festival, they have seen it in a party somewhere, and it was also related to someone whom they wish to be tomorrow. I think then you need to advance this to the Appropriations Committee in Parliament, so that you also stay away from this heavily reliance on alcohol beverage sector to sponsor that which government should be looking after. And raise it with the Minister of Treasury in Treasury as well. The last thing, Chair, I'm going to ask from you is that I agree with the colleague that says we maybe need a colloquium. And I understand this is the beginning of the conversation, that we must now be in a position where we are allowed to call for public inputs to this, now that the departments are here. I'm just not sure why was Department of Transport not called, because The Deputy Minister of Transport just appeared in Scopa when we're dealing with the rough matter, and he was very angry with how we're dealing with the issues of alcohol in South Africa, which are actually the major problem and taking the highest percentage of rough payments are related to road accidents that are caused by alcohol consumption. In plain English, drinking and driving has caused more accidents that are paid by RAF. If Department of Transport was also called here, which I'm pleading that Department of Transport must be called, to also paint a picture of what the impact of alcohol in society and into our fiscus in terms of RAF. We just saw the levy being raised now, and the increase of that levy is not going to pay accidents that happen because they are accidents that are intention because people drive on the roads. We don't have enough police officers, and therefore we don't have enough stop and go where we are searching people, checking people if they are driving drunk or what. But then people are successfully driving drunk on the roads, and those drunkards, they cause accidents, bus accidents, and they disrupt hospitals because when those injuries arrive at the hospital, there's a huge disruption because theaters now are overwhelmed. They must attend to people who are dying, whose limbs are cut out. It causes chaos. So I would like to plead with the committee that we can now start calling for inputs from everyone. My last input, Chair, is that yesterday, I think this was a blessing in disguise. Yesterday, NGOs that are in the advocacy work against people drinking were in Parliament, in the office of the Speaker. They left pamphlets in Parliament and asked if Parliament can support them to stop the practice and the culture of drinking in our society. And they termed it the 100 preventable deaths every day in South Africa. Their presentation was having the following. Each year, alcohol use claims approximately 37,000 people a year in South Africa. 100 families are being torn apart every single day, losing a mother, a child, a breadwinner, or community member to preventable cause. And most of these people who consume this alcohol and go onto the roads, one way or the other, they were exposed to the peer pressure of marketing through seeing the people they wish to be, promoting the alcohol, through placements in areas that they go to. Then they see an alcohol that's placed, and then they are enticed into tasting and they get hooked. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mente, for the inputs. Can I request that we go
Chair?
to the other? Yes.
Chair, Mr. Garner's hand is still raised. I don't know if he wants to still speak, Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Garner? I think there's some technical problems with Mr. Garner, Chair. There's no further questions then, Chair.
Thank you, Andre. Can I then give an opportunity to the different presenters to respond to the inputs and questions that has been asked by the honorable members?
Chair, shall we start with DTIC, followed by health, followed by sports, Chair? Would that be in order?
Yes, it's in order, Andre.
As agreed to by the Chair, the DTIC, followed by Department of Health, and followed by the Department of Sports, Art and Culture, will respond to the questions raised in respect to the departments. Thanks.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Honorable members. My name is Dr. Evelyn Masoja. I'm with Ms. Clementine Magaibia and the Deputy Minister on behalf of the DTIC. We have noted the inputs and comments made by honorable members, and we have noted them for further consideration. We will not be responding to each and every point that was made, but just to indicate that we recognize the importance of this of the scourge of liquor consumption in our society and the harmful effect it has. So we have noted the inputs. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members.
Andre, who's next?
Department of Health, Chair.
Yeah,
Okay.
the chair from health here. Yeah, chair. I just want to appreciate the inputs from honorable members in support of our inputs. And indeed, this is a matter that would require even the voice of Department of Transport, because the Minister of Transport early this year, when she released the statistics for on the road fatalities for festive season, unequivocally stated this point, and we from health were quite excited, noting that unsolicited from any other line function in terms of advocacies for prevention of fatalities, particularly those that are coming from transport. There's some voices and that contribution and information and leadership direction by the minister was quite welcome. I think I'm not going to try to respond to points that were raised by Honorable Tambo and Honorable Mente, because they were really spot on. Chair, just to say, I thought personally, and in the department also, that we should follow what the social scientists will call a reality convenience controversy, or reality convenience posturing, because sometimes we may need to deal with issues either because we've got to deal with them, or some of them because the reality dictates that we deal with them. And I'm raising the chair with a greater humility and with no intention to cause any offense. But Chair, I just want to also end on a note that says I've been taking notes diligently of every input that was made. And I can assure the honorable member Mente that the tobacco law story, it's also in our closest level of radar screening, and therefore we'll be able to bring it forth. So Chair, I would end here unless if my colleague, Mr. Riboninzie, would want to also make a contribution, but this way our story will end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then we have
Department of Sports, Arts and Culture to respond. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chair. And may I also acknowledge the Deputy Minister? I did not do that earlier. My apologies. I think it's important to say from the views of our department that we note the concerns raised, and we note the dangers of alcohol consumption to the very fabric of society. After all, our department, what is central to our department is also the social cohesion project. So we do not take lightly the comments made by the members of this committee. We had intended our presentation to be quite nuanced and neutral, and we believe it is. But I think we also need to say we note the concerns raised, and our intention is to do further homework and further research on our side. We have commissioned the South African Cultural Observatory, which is the sort of research arm of the department attached to Nelson Mandela University, to do more work on the scale and the visibility of current trends in liquor industry sponsorships, and also, on the other hand, corporate social responsibility investment in sport, arts, and culture domains. We will do a lot more work in evaluating also substitution patterns, and that is possibilities and appetites for other sponsors to come in to replace these sponsorships. And we are also seized with assessing international trends, looking at countries where restrictions have been implemented to establish benefits and costs. So we do heed all the observations and warnings from members, and we are going to do our homework and our research on this. But I think that's all we will say for now. Thank you, Chair.
Andre, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, we
We
can hear you
now,
Member
Mr.
Gama.
Okay, I don't know if I can come in.
Yes, you have to please come in, Member Gama.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, the technology tried to desert me there. I think I'm not going to ask questions because I think we've gone past that now. But I think it's important to debunk the myth that there's no causal link between alcohol consumption and advertising, because I think even the econometric study did say that the exposure to alcohol advertising is associated with higher initiation of drinking as well as the heavier drinking amongst the youth. For me, I think the key issue here is to have some kind of colloquium going forward where we try and balance the societal costs of alcohol consumption. When they say it can be up to 10 to 12% of GDP, I think it's very high because, I mean, it's associated with disease, gender-based violence, road traffic injuries, infectious diseases, etc. So I think the Department of Health has adequately articulated what the key issues are. But from a South Africa, which is, it's got high poverty levels, unemployment, for us, I think we need to find a good balance between the usage of some of this funding. You could bring in the same alcohol manufacturers to say, how do they also cover the economic costs of this harmful alcohol use as well? And we get a comprehensive strategy to deal with this whole issue, and maybe a phased approach towards restrictions of alcohol advertising can be targeted, especially focusing on the youth exposure. I think the youth is very important because the best way never to drink alcohol is to not start. If you do not start, then I think you win the battle. So it becomes very important that going forward, we do say that there is a case for moral suasion, as it were, in terms of trying to bring in the actors and stakeholders and players in this space to assist in terms of paying for the cost, because I think we need to strengthen public health campaigns, which would operate alongside industry activity, but maintain very strict boundaries to protect the youth and vulnerable populations, so that there is, appropriate messaging. But also there must be a fund, because the damage has already been done, that needs to be created, to deal with these issues that are alcohol related, in terms of the harm to healthcare, to policing, social services, and or even productivity losses as a result of that. So I think it's important to have that phased approach, so that alternative and policy alignment could then also be explored going forward, because there is a huge economic and social impact to alcohol abuse to the country, and we need to do everything that we can as lawmakers to reduce the harmful effects on society and on health programs, so that we can reduce the cost to society. So thank you very much, Chair, for indulging me. But really what I wanted to say is that in the interim, we do need, before any bill is amended, to look at what would be the proactive steps that we would take in terms of promoting responsible marketing norms and strict age verification, so that we would not glamorize heavy drinking, especially around the youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Gama. Do we have further hands, colleagues? We hear the proposals that are okay. We hear the proposals that are being made. We will ask our team, in the interest of balanced reporting between the proposal of the bill and the general engagement that is being proposed here, to look at whether or not it's possible for us to do that, and then we will also further request the three departments to do further work on this, so that in the next round of our meeting, because we might struggle as Parliament to host a colloquium and things like those, to see which of the department could possibly assist us, and then we will jointly with the executive to ensure that there is proper engagement. The other proposition on the other proposition that is being made in the meeting on the marketing and all those things. So those are the things that we'll have to look at based on the presentation. We do need to raise this point. It's a pity that I was struggling between two meetings, that we request political heads or their deputies to come to meetings to raise to do presentations, other than advise us. Not that they don't have a role to play; they have a role to play in the department, because we need to be able to explain to the people about the role of the executive. Because this is about holding the executive to account. I hope that in the next time, advisor will then inform the minister and the deputy minister of sports to be the ones leading this delegation, as you can see from other end, that these are the issues that we're looking at. Are there any further issues, Andre, that we need to look at?
With respect to this, Chair, we have noted what you propose. We will advise the committee in terms of the colloquium and how we address and going forward on that, Chair. Nothing on the meetings as far, but there is some housekeeping business for the committee that we would like to address if at the end of the meeting, Chair. That's in order.
Okay, thank you very much. We will, after we adopt the minutes, we will then probably propose the way forward, so that it's balanced, because we need to do some research, but this has to do with the proposal that was made by Honorable Mente. So we need to look into that so that we can get also proper legal advice, and then we will take things from there. Is that fine, colleagues? Including the other proposals that have been made, including the one with by member Trans and member Gama on the colloquium or the
Yes.
meeting, just to assess them. Are we fine?
Agreed, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, colleagues. That we've come to the end of our meeting, and I request members to remain so that we can deal with some of the small housekeeping issues. Thank you very much to the Deputy Minister and other senior officials from the three departments. We really appreciate the input, and we know that Fridays are really difficult days, but we had to find time to ensure that we don't ignore this important call that has been made. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Members should, trader in the member should remain on the platform, Chair. Chair, just, if I may proceed, Chair, just a housekeeping matter regarding next week's oversight. Chair, is there any matter you would like to raise on that, Chair, from your side? In relation to the discussions, Chair, that we had?
Yeah. Andre, is it on the trip?
Yes, Chair. Yeah.
Yeah, colleagues, I had a side meeting with the chair of chairs, who gave us a feedback on the proposal, based on the budget and the system that they are using, zero budgeting. They are suggesting that we need to split the delegation into two. Have the delegation that pay, I think, the money that is there, Andre can go and verify that. And secondly, do our second one. So, meaning instead of taking 10 members, take 5 and another 5 or 6 later on to balance this the two budgets. So that's a proposal that we wanted to put forward. But in support of that proposal, we then said we'll have to allocate based on proportional representation on how we come into those numbers. It's easy for the parties with one, but it's difficult for the parties who've got more than one members. So we'll need to just find ways to balance that, balance the gender, balance parties, and so on and so on. I'm not sure whether, Andre, you've been able to make some proposals that we can put forward to members.
Chair, it's the first time I would hear. I haven't received any communication back from Mr. Frolick's office, Chair. So we haven't had a look at the proposal or the how we do it. If I'm to understand you correctly, Chair, is Mr. Frolick proposing that to ensure that we utilize some budget of this year, we make a submission for 5 members, and then in the next cycle we make a submission for another 5 members or 6 members to travel, and we all travel at the same time to Japan, if I'm correct, Chair? I couldn't hear you clearly when you were addressing us, Chair.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe what we might need to do, can I request that we meet him on Tuesday so that we can finalize, so that because we were just standing and didn't have a report.
Okay.
Except
No
that let's try and take 5. But remember that we're owing members a feedback, so I just thought it's necessary that we give them feedback that there are those proposals. But what we must do, maybe then after Tuesday, we must agree with members that we will then come up with a proposal based on the advice that we will have formally received from Chair of Chairs.
No problem, we can do that, Chair. In relation to next week, Chair, we will do that. I'll follow up with Mr. Frolick's office after the meeting regarding the study tour. But in relation to the oversight visit, Chair, I just want Yvonne to address the logistics in terms of flights and stuff like that, Chair, and whether we will proceed. Chair, can Yvonne just
Yes, you can proceed.
Yvonne?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the members and the colleagues. The logistics are done from my side. The venue, the hotels have been booked and the flights, and they've already forwarded to the members their itineraries. I think everybody has received them. I want to address her. It's only one member that couldn't have to change due to the Parliament program. Miss Webster, she's no longer traveling with the committee because of the change of the program, and she needs to be in Parliament on next week, Wednesday and Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday, Chair. Everything is fine, is prepared, is ready for my side. And the police on the other side has been Parliament Protection Services has already liaised with the police in PE for escorting the members. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, with regard to the documentation, we are putting all those together. Members will receive the necessary preparatory documentation in preparation for next week with the program. And if there's so members will get all the documentation this afternoon, Chair. So if there's no questions, Chair, then we are Mr. Chance, Chair, raise his hand.
Thanks, Andre. Yes, I do have a question. Thanks for all the arrangements for next week. On the order paper for Tuesday is consideration of the recommendation of the board of the NLC. And I raised this with the chief whip in my party yesterday. And I do believe that this should be postponed because it would make no sense if no members of the committee really were able to make declarations. Has this been raised with the table?
Chair, Mr. Chance, I would maybe request, because I've raised the matter with the chair, so it's a programming matter, Chair. We normally are not involved in that thing, but we've alerted them, Chair. So I don't know if the chair has any response to that, Chair.
I don't necessarily have. Who do we speak to? Because we could request, because it will make sense that we are there, because we are the ones who have made a decision to make the declaration.
The programming whips, Chair, who deals with the program and schedule these things would be the best people to address this. And I can alert the table from our side, Chair, but politically it would be the programming whips that it would intervene on your behalf. Seeing that not one of the committee members will be in Parliament this week, given that our application has been approved by both Chief Whip and the House Chairperson, Chair. So I think it's probably just a omission from the scheduling that they didn't recognize that we were traveling during that week, Chair.
Okay, let me raise this with the program. We will write on the group just to inform members. I think the proposal should be let's rather postpone it and the next round where they can accommodate us.
Yes, could we suggest, may I suggest, Chair, that you ask that it be based on the order paper for the following week, because I don't think we want to postpone it for a full month, because the appointment of the chairperson of the NLC is an important matter.
Yes, I fully agree. Let me try that, and then I'll provide feedback to members on our group.
Okay, Mr. Langa has raised his hand, Chair.
Yes, Member Langa.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I'm not sure if it was my network, but I couldn't quite capture what Usis Yvonne said on the program for next week, as in when she's going to share it.
Yvonne didn't speak to the program. She spoke about the flight analytics. I indicated that we are compiling the documentation. Hopefully this afternoon you will get the full package of all the entities we'll visit and all the information, briefing documents you will have this afternoon, including the draft program for the visit.
Okay, so it's going to be shared this afternoon to all the members.
Yeah, to all members, yeah, correct. Everyone will receive it.
Okay, that's fine. So let's watch out from our group, and then we'll take up things from there. Thank you very much.
So there's one
Mr.
other
Chance,
point
Chair?
to make, Chair. Yes, thank you.
Yes, Member Chance. Member Chance.
It's just, I just want to get an update, Chair, on the letter to the Minister regarding the TSU report on the SABS being circulated to the committee before our meeting the week after next with the SABS.
I know
Chair,
we
if I
are
may?
working on. Yes, Andre.
We will follow up on that matter, Chair, and we will keep the committee posted on that, Chair. If that's
Okay, so Andre, so just to clarify, I did speak to the chair about this.
Yes.
Are you saying that a letter will be sent to the minister requesting the report,
Yes.
or what is that?
Yes, yes, a letter
Correct,
will
Chair.
be sent. The team is working on the draft. Send the letter. But we've not sent the letter yet. We'll send the letter to the minister and the sections from there.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The call and yes,
That's all, Chair.
I see Member Musikas wants to raise an issue. Yes, Member Musikas,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to check with the administration. Are we going to get transport from the parks, or are we going to organize our own transport to the airport?
Through Chair. Yes, I did arrange the transport to take the members from the parks, the one that will be coming from Cape Town. I've given them the transport company your cell number. They will call you. I do have your room numbers as well. The house numbers as well. I've given to them.
And members from home, do we travel ourselves and then claim it back? How does that work?
Yes.
That's normally the process, Chair. I think Yvonne?
Yes, that's a normal process. If you're coming from your constituency, you travel yourself, to the airport,
All right, thank you.
Only when you are in Cape Town in the Parliament Parks, that's when we arrange the transport for the members from Parliament Parks to airports.
That's all from our side, Chair. Okay, that's all from our side, Chair. We will see members in Port Elizabeth if everything goes according to plan.
Thank you very much. Thanks, members. We'll update you this afternoon about the issues that have been raised. And thank you very much for everything, members, and the sacrifice to ensure that we have the meeting today. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.